Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, what is your favorite example of community activism that then turned into a legislative fight?
I think when the devastation of COVID fell on so many of our communities, we also saw a flourishing of community action and direct action in the absence of enough government action. And around that time, at the start of COVID, Elmhurst Hospital in Queens was the epicenter of the epicenter. It is where, before we figured out what the transmission vectors were, what COVID even really was, it was a public hospital, Elmhurst Hospital in Queens, that does not turn away anyone on the basis of their insurance or on the basis of their immigration status, their housing status, whatever. They treat everybody the same. And what we saw at that time was, out of the top 10 zip codes in the United States afflicted with COVID, 5 of them were in my congressional district. It was all hands on deck. And at that time, because it was so early, it was before the public health data had come in, it was before we knew almost anything. And there were organizers and people on the ground that were saying, this disease, this illness, is not hitting all of us the same. It is hitting marginalized communities more. It is hitting Black communities more. It's hitting brown communities more. It's hitting the working class more. And we had folks on the ground that saw this and knew this and rang the alarm about it before any public health data came out. And they said, so presciently, they said, we need to act on this now, because once people find out that this is not hitting all of us the same, they're not going to want to act on it. There's going to be less urgency. We found out that some people are more protected than others. And so there was this moment, I remember, all of us were a part of it, where we were on these emergency calls, and it was almost it was such a dark time, but it was also a suspended reality, because there was a moment where everybody, all Democrats of all ideologies and Republicans, were almost willing to entertain anything, from universal basic income to mortgage freezes to freezing our credit scores. They put all of it on the table because they thought they were at risk too. All of a sudden, people with the most privilege and power thought they were in the same boat as the people who were most vulnerable. And when they were in that boat, they were willing to do anything. And so, because the community organizers that we had on the ground, I represent both areas of the Bronx where the Young Lords originally had organized, and I represent areas of Queens where the Black Panthers and Malcolm X once lived. And Elm Corps, which is a community organization that was originally founded by the Black Panthers and decades later still doing everything from preschool and supportive services to food assistance, reached out and they said, we need to set up a funeral assistance fund, because funerals and the cost of funerals in this country is devastatingly high. And we're already seeing families with multiple people afflicted, and that will wipe out people's generational wealth in just a short matter of time. And so they said, this is what we should do, this is what we should mobilize. And in one of these calls, we were entertaining pretty much every idea. We made that argument. And I remember it because it was, there were a lot of people on the call, and there was the Senate leader, there was the speaker, there was all sorts of folks, and we said, can we at least cover this? And in everyone throwing a lot of ideas and a lot of paint on the wall, it stuck. And in that period, we fought, and eventually we got it passed in the American Rescue Plan.